Imagine you're standing in a crowded room, the air thick with the murmur of 100 conversations, the clinking of glasses a soft, rhythmic counterpoint. Laughter erupts from a corner, a shared joke you didn't hear, but feel compelled to smile at anyway. A speaker on a distant stage is making a point, their hands gesturing with a passion that seems rehearsed. You watch the heads in front of you nod in unison, a gentle, synchronized wave of agreement. You find yourself nodding too, a subtle, almost imperceptible motion. But then, a strange feeling begins to creep into the edges of your awareness, a quiet hum of dissonance beneath the social symphony. You look at the nodding heads again, at the easy smiles and the comfortable postures, and a question, cold and sharp, pierces through the warmth of the room. The smile on your face suddenly feels like a mask you didn't realize you were wearing. The nod feels like a puppet's twitch, a string pulled by an unseen hand. You try to rewind the last few minutes to pinpoint the exact moment your opinion was formed. Was it when the speaker used that particular emotionally charged word? Was it when the person next to you, someone you admire, chuckled in approval? Or was the thought never really yours to begin with? Was it simply downloaded? A piece of code inserted into your consciousness while you were distracted by the noise, the lights, the overwhelming sense of belonging. The more you search for the origin of your own agreement, the more it dissolves into mist, leaving behind an unsettling void. This feeling, this chilling realization that your inner world might be a curated gallery of borrowed ideas, is the quietest and most profound horror of the modern age. It doesn't scream or leap from the shadows. It whispers from inside your own skull, making you question the very foundation of who you are. What if your most cherished beliefs, the convictions that define your identity, the very moral compass you use to navigate the world, were not forged in the fires of your own experience and reason, but were instead laced to you? What if they were whispered into your ear at your most vulnerable, packaged in the comforting wrap of tradition, sold to you in the glossy advertisements of ideology, or algorithmically fed to you in the echo chamber of your digital life? We pride ourselves on being creatures of logic and free will, architects of our own destiny. We celebrate the rebels, the innovators, the lone voices who dared to think differently. Yet, we live in a world that has never been more connected, more saturated with information, more insistent on consensus. How is it possible that in an age of unprecedented access to knowledge, we seem to be marching in near-perfect lockstep, often towards cliffs we can all see, but dare not name? This is the great, unspoken paradox of our time. We hold the Library of Alexandria in our pockets, yet we seem to be reading from the same single, heavily edited page. We have a megaphone to voice our unique perspective to the entire planet, yet our voices increasingly merge into a single, monotonous drone. Is this an accident of history? A temporary glitch in our social evolution? Or is it the result of a far deeper, more insidious force at play? A force that understands the architecture of the human mind better than we understand it ourselves. A force that doesn't need chains or prisons to ensure compliance, because it has found a way to build the prison inside of us, decorating it so beautifully that we mistake it for a sanctuary. We are haunted by a ghost we cannot see, a puppeteer whose strings are so fine, so perfectly woven into the fabric of our lives, that we have come to believe they are our own nerves, our own sinews. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled, Baudelaire wrote, was convincing the world he didn't exist. Perhaps the greatest trick our collective consciousness has pulled is convincing each of us that our thoughts are our own. Before we can even begin to seek an answer, we must first find the courage to ask the question, to stand still in that crowded room, amidst the nodding heads and confident smiles, and truly interrogate the silence that follows. What if the feeling of thinking for yourself is the most powerful illusion of all? And if it is, what happens when that illusion finally shatters? That shattering doesn't come with a bang, but with a slow, creeping dread. The 19th century philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the terror of the dizziness of freedom. He argued that when you are truly free to choose anything, you are also confronted with the terrifying responsibility for those choices. Standing on the edge of a cliff, you are not just afraid of falling. You are afraid of the part of you that could choose to jump. This anxiety is so profound, so existentially crushing, that we seek refuge. And the most convenient refuge has always been the crowd. The crowd, Kierkegaard declared with chilling certainty, is untruth. Why? Because within the crowd, the burden of individual responsibility evaporates. Your thoughts are no longer yours. They belong to the collective. Your decisions are no longer yours. They are sanctioned by the group. You nod along not because you are convinced, but because the act of nodding is a balm for the terror of standing alone. You are absolved. The crowd offers you a pre-written script, a ready-made identity, and all it asks in return is your silent, unquestioning participation. It's the ultimate bargain with the devil, a trade of authentic selfhood for the warm, narcotic embrace of belonging. This isn't just philosophy. It is deep psychology. Carl Jung, a man who mapped the hidden territories of the psyche, gave us the concept of the persona. The persona is the social mask you present to the world. It's the you that knows how to behave at a job interview, on a first date, or in that crowded room. It is a necessary tool for social navigation. The danger, Jung warned, arises when you forget you are wearing it. When the mask fuses to your skin, you begin to believe you are the persona. Society is all too happy to help with this fusion. It offers you a vast wardrobe of masks, each with its own set of approved thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. The dutiful son, the rebellious artist, the savvy entrepreneur, the devout believer, these are not just roles. They are entire cognitive packages. When you adopt one, you don't just adopt a way of acting, you adopt a way of thinking. The opinions come pre-installed, optimized for social acceptance. And so, you walk through life believing you are expressing your unique self, when in reality, you are merely performing a role so flawlessly that you've fooled even your own consciousness. You've mistaken the character description for your soul. This process is then codified and weaponized by the very language we use. George Orwell, in his terrifyingly prescient 1984, wasn't just warning about overt government surveillance. He was warning about newspeak, a language designed to narrow the range of thought, to make heresy, unapproved thinking literally impossible. If there is no word for a concept, how can you think it? Our modern world doesn't need a ministry of truth to enforce newspeak. Our echo chambers, our cultural dogmas, our corporate jargon, they all function as a kind of soft newspeak. They provide us with a lexicon of acceptable ideas and quietly marginalize the vocabulary of dissent. Over time, the pathways of the mind that lead to dangerous questions begin to atrophy from disuse. The result is a deep and profound internal exile. You feel a persistent, low-grade anxiety, a sense that something is fundamentally wrong, but you lack the very words, the very concepts, to articulate what it is. You are a prisoner in a cell with no bars, only the invisible walls of a shrinking vocabulary. The hidden problem, then, is this unholy trinity, the philosophical fear of freedom, the psychological temptation of the persona, and the linguistic limitation of thought. Together, they create a perfect, self-perpetuating system for outsourcing the most essential human act of all thinking. And this system is now being turbocharged by forces that past generations could never have imagined, leading to consequences that are as invisible as they are catastrophic. The turbocharging of this ancient human vulnerability is the defining, unspoken story of the 21st century. The architects of this new system are not shadowy figures in a smoke-filled room. They are the invisible, intricate systems you interact with every second of every day. They are the algorithms that curate your reality, the market forces that commodify your identity, and the media structures that frame your world. These forces have industrialized the process of thought outsourcing, turning it from a simple human flaw into a highly efficient, global machine for manufacturing consent. And it all begins with the simple biological wiring of your brain. Your brain is, above all else, an engine of efficiency. It is designed to conserve energy. Critical, independent thought, the act of forging a new neural pathway, is metabolically expensive. It requires effort, consumes glucose, and creates cognitive dissonance. Accepting a pre-packaged thought, however, is cheap. It's like walking on a well-paved road instead of hacking your way through a dense jungle. Your brain doesn't inherently care if a thought is true, profound, or original. Its primary directive is to find the path of least resistance. The digital world has become a master at paving these paths. Every time you scroll, you are being guided down a frictionless highway of consensus. The machine is learning you, not to empower you, but to make your agreement its default setting. This biological loophole is the entry point, the backdoor through which the modern consequences flow. These consequences are wielded through tools we call cognitive biases, which are no longer just interesting psychological quirks, but the primary levers of social control. Consider confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms your existing beliefs. This is no longer a passive process. Your digital feed is a meticulously engineered confirmation bias machine. It doesn't just show you what you like. It builds a self-validating fortress around your worldview. Every article, every video, every meme is another brick in the wall, reinforcing the idea that your perspective isn't just an opinion, but an objective reflection of reality. The persona Jung warned about, that social mask, is now fed and groomed 24/7. Its beliefs hardened from preference into unshakable dogma. Dissenting information isn't just ignored. It's filtered out before it can even reach you, making the world outside your bubble seem not just wrong, but insane. Then comes the digital version of Kierkegaard's crowd. Social proof. A like, a share, a retweet. These are not trivial metrics. They are powerful, quantitative signals of consensus. A post with 100,000 likes doesn't just feel popular. It feels true. The human brain interprets this digital swarm as a survival signal. The tribe has spoken. To disagree is to risk ostracism, to step outside the warmth of the digital campfire into the cold, lonely dark. This creates a chilling effect on dissent. You begin to self-censor, not because you are forced to, but because the psychological cost of holding a minority opinion has become too high. You see a narrative taking shape, a wave of collective emotion swelling online, and you learn that it is far safer to ride the wave than to question where it is heading. The unseen consequence is that our public discourse is no longer a search for truth, but a desperate, stampeding auction for the most popular version of it. This is all wrapped in the architecture of cultural conditioning, where even your identity has become a product to be consumed. You are taught from a young age that the way to express your individuality is through your choices as a consumer. The car you drive, the clothes you wear, the phone you carry, these are not just objects. They are identity kits. They are shortcuts to signaling your values, your tribe, your place in the world. This system brilliantly subverts the very desire for uniqueness, channeling it into predictable, profitable patterns of consumption. It creates a reality where building an authentic self from scratch through introspection, struggle, and independent thought seems impossibly difficult compared to simply buying one off the shelf. The unseen consequence is a world of manufactured individuals, each expressing their unique identity with the same set of mass-produced symbols. And what is the ultimate price of living this way? The most devastating consequence of all is not that you stop thinking for yourself, but that you begin to stop feeling for yourself. Your emotional landscape becomes a territory occupied by vicarious experience. You feel outrage through a headline, joy through an influencer's curated vacation, romance through a fictional series, and a sense of accomplishment by watching others succeed. Your own life, with its quiet moments, its subtle beauties, and its messy, unshareable sorrows begins to feel dull and inadequate. You are living a second-hand existence, your own heart beating to a rhythm composed by someone else. You are trapped in a comfortable, vivid, and all-encompassing dream. But while you are dreaming, the world is being built. The rules are being written. Your future is being decided. Waking up does not begin with a fight. It does not start with a grand declaration of war against the systems that cage you, nor with a frantic quest to consume more truthful information. This is where the first revolutionary mindset shift occurs. You must abandon the comfort of being someone who knows and embrace the power of being someone who questions. Our modern identity is built upon the brittle foundation of our beliefs, our certainties, our dogmas. We are our opinions. To let go of them feels like death, but this is the illusion. True power lies not in the answers you hold, but in the questions you are brave enough to ask. You must begin to define yourself, not by your affiliation with a particular tribe or ideology, but by your commitment to relentless, fearless inquiry. This is the Socratic path, the profound wisdom that begins with the admission, I know that I know nothing. In a world screaming for certainty, the most radical act is to cultivate a deep and abiding relationship with doubt. This is your shield against the algorithmic fortress of confirmation bias. When you are no longer defending a belief, but are instead on a quest for understanding, the entire system designed to manipulate you loses its power. It can't reinforce what you refuse to solidify. This philosophical shift must be anchored in practice. A practice is simple, yet in our age, it is one of the hardest things you will ever do. Sit in a room alone for 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no book, no distractions. Just you and the space around you. At first, it will be torture. Your mind, a starved addict, will scream for a hit of stimulation. A storm of phantom thoughts, half-remembered tweets, lines from commercials, anxieties planted by the day's news will rage within you. This is the withdrawal. This is the noise of the crowd echoing in the chambers of your mind. Do not fight it. Simply observe it. Watch it come and go like clouds in the sky. This is the detoxification process. You are allowing the poison to surface. By sitting in this uncomfortable silence, you are creating a vacuum, a space where, for the first time in a long time, something new might have a chance to grow. Into this vacuum will rush the existential loneliness the entire system is built to protect you from. You will feel the raw, unfiltered terror of Kierkegaard's freedom. Your instinct will be to run, to grab your phone, to reconnect to the hive mind. This is the critical moment. The second great mindset shift is to reframe this feeling. This is not the pain of isolation. This is the feeling of sovereignty. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of fleeing to solitude, not to escape others, but to escape the marketplace, where all values are cheapened and all thoughts are common. You must learn to see this loneliness not as a void, but as a sanctuary. It is the silent, sacred space where you can finally hear your own voice, faint and unfamiliar as it may be at first. It is the prerequisite for authentic thought. You must learn to be your own trusted companion before you can trust the thoughts that arise in your own mind. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome perfected this art. Men like the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by the constant pressures of power and politics. And Epictetus, a man who began life as a slave, both found freedom not by changing the world around them, but by mastering their inner citadel. They practiced a ruthless distinction between what was in their control, their judgments, their perceptions, their responses, and what was not. The algorithm is not in your control. The headlines are not in your control. The opinions of the crowd are not in your control. But your response to them is. When you see a wave of manufactured outrage building, you can choose not to participate. When you feel the pull of social proof, you can pause and consult your own inner reason. This is not passive resignation. It is the ultimate reclamation of power. You cease to be a puppet whose emotional strings are pulled by external forces and become the calm center of your own storm. From this foundation of silence, questioning, and inner control, you can begin to build a new mental architecture. This is the hard, exhilarating work of hacking your own path through the jungle. It means actively seeking out the smartest people who disagree with you, not to debate them, but to understand the world from behind their eyes. It means reading old books that have survived the test of time, engaging with ideas outside the frantic, fleeting conversations of the present moment. It means practicing first principles, thinking, taking a belief you hold, and breaking it down to its most basic foundational axioms, and asking if you truly believe them. You are no longer downloading software. You are learning to write your own code. The feeling this creates is one of immense, startling power. You begin to realize the prison doors were never locked. The key, the ability to detach, to question, and to choose your focus was in your possession all along. And as you step out of the cell of second-hand thoughts, you begin to suspect that this freedom is more than just the ability to think for yourself. It is the key to something far grander, the power to perceive, and perhaps even to shape, reality itself. You've stepped out of the cell, and the sunlight is blinding. You feel the profound power that comes from reclaiming your own mind, the sense that you are no longer a leaf blown about by the winds of cultural whim and algorithmic design. And here, on the precipice of true freedom, you glimpse the final, most powerful realization. It's an idea so profound it risks being mistaken for a simple platitude, an insight so powerful it has been co-opted and sold in cheaper forms for centuries. The realization is not merely that you can shape your thoughts. It is that your thoughts shape your world. This is not the hollow promise of positive thinking, which is just another prepackaged script designed to make you passively accept your circumstances. This is a far deeper, more terrifying, and more exhilarating truth about the fundamental nature of your reality. You have spent your entire life believing that you are a camera, passively recording an objective world that exists out there, separate from you. You believed your consciousness was a mirror, reflecting a reality that was fixed and solid. The final realization is that you are not the camera. You are not the mirror. You are the light. The world you experience is not a static object you observe. It is a dynamic, fluid co-creation between the raw, chaotic data of the universe and the organizing principles of your own consciousness. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your focus are not a commentary on the game. They are the rules of the game itself. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. The struggle of the past makes perfect sense. Kierkegaard's crowd was never just a collection of other people. It was an invitation to adopt a low-resolution, generic consciousness, and in doing so, to inhabit a blurry imitation reality. By outsourcing your thought, you are outsourcing the very creation of your world. Jung's persona was not just a social mask. It was a reality filter. When you mistook the mask for your face, you weren't just fooling others. You were condemning yourself to perceive only the sliver of reality that the mask was designed to see. Every possibility, every truth, every beauty that existed outside that character's script became literally invisible to you. The algorithm was never just feeding you content. It was actively building the walls of your perceptual prison, brick by digital brick, locking you into a feedback loop where your world grew smaller, more predictable, and less real with every scroll. The unseen trap was the belief that you were a character in a story written by someone else. The ultimate freedom, the final paradigm shift, is the realization that you are the narrator. The events of your life, the triumphs, the failures, the loves, the losses, are merely the raw plot points. It is your consciousness, the quality of your attention, the thoughts you choose to cultivate, that weaves these points into a coherent narrative. The very same events can be narrated as a tragedy of a helpless victim or an epic of a hero's journey. Nothing about the external world has to change for the entire meaning of your life to be transformed. The power was never in controlling the events. It was always in controlling the meaning. This is the secret that the architects of the dream state hope you never discover. It is easier to control a population of characters than it is to control an army of authors. This is the moment the puppet looks up, sees the strings, and with a jolt of electrifying awareness, realizes they lead back not to an unseen master, but to its own hands. It is the moment you stop looking at the map of reality that others have drawn for you and begin to explore the wild, uncharted territory of your own direct experience. The world begins to shimmer with a depth and meaning you were blind to before. You no longer need to consume vicarious emotions because you are immersed in the raw, authentic texture of your own life. You no longer fear loneliness because in the silence, you have discovered the entire universe. You have ceased to be a passive consumer of a prepackaged reality and have become an active participant in the ongoing creation of the cosmos. So this becomes the journey, not just to break free from the thoughts of others, but to become a conscious architect of your own perception. This is the work we are here to do. To ask the hard questions, to embrace the discomfort, and to help each other wake from the collective dream. The purpose is not to give you new thoughts to think, but to share the tools for building a mind that is truly, sovereignly your own. To remind you that the most powerful force in the universe is not technology, or politics, or power, but a single human consciousness that has decided to be free. And so, you are left with one final haunting question. A question that should echo in every decision you make, every thought you entertain, and every moment of your waking life now that you know you are the narrator. What kind of story are you going to tell?